Today we are working Psalm 63. In Psalm magic, Psalm 63 is frequently employed to overcome discouragement and also, interestingly enough, to overcome loss from business associates. Today we are going to work Psalm 63 to overcome any problem, especially problems that seem big. So the way we work Psalm magic is very simple, easy, and effective. We take the psalm in question and we speak it out loud all the way through once without stopping. We call this an incantation. Then we go back through the psalm and we uncover hidden occult magic seeds of wisdom. And that means that we look for meanings behind each verse that may not be immediately apparent to us. And by the act of doing that, those seeds are getting planted right in the fertile grounds of your deep mind, where they take root, they grow, they blossom forth, and then they bear fruit after their kind. And that's exactly what you and I are going to do together right now with Psalm 63. O God, thou art my God, early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land, where no water is, to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. Because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches. Because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul followeth hard after thee, thy right hand upholdeth me. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword, they shall be a portion for foxes. But the king shall rejoice in God. Everyone that sweareth by him shall glory, but the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. Starting out with, O God, thou art my God. God is Elohim, so that's the host of heaven working as a unity. There's one source, one substance in all the universe. There's only one force. There's only one power. And since there's only one, nothing can go against it. And just realizing this and recognizing this and orienting ourselves to this understanding, we are immediately lifted into our own power to overcome this problem, whatever it is that we've brought to the psalm. Now, a lot of times when people come to a psalm, especially if they're magically oriented people, they don't think of psalms first. Usually if you're thinking of magic, you're thinking of other kinds of spell work. So by the time a lot of magic people get to the psalms, they're really desperate. Many of us are not like that. Many of us are part of a psalmic path. But the reason I mention that is because frequently by the time you come to a psalm, your problem seems so big and so unsolvable that this is your last-ditch effort. It's important to look at that and realize when you are working with this power, nothing can go up against it. There is no such thing as an unsolvable problem. There is no such thing as a big problem or a little problem to this power. There are no levels to this power because there's only oneness. So in our experience, something can seem really big, but to the infinite, there is no really big. It's no different to solve this problem than any other problem. Once you realize that and understand that and come from that point of view, it makes the power flow much more freely so that you can experience that solution. O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. I'm going to come to you first. I'm going to come to this power first. I'm not going to try to solve this by myself. I'm not going to give my list of things to you as to what I think you should do. I'm going to come to you early, meaning I understand that you are the only one that knows who, what, where, why, when, and how. I don't. If I knew, I would have solved this already. So I'm going to come to infinite intelligence first. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. The psalmist is putting this in the desert, in the wilderness, where there is no help available. Your problem is being represented by this desert wilderness. Now just imagine being in the desert, in the wilderness, where there is no water, there is no food, and there are no people. There is no help, and you don't know how to find your way out. That's the symbol of whatever this problem is for you. You can just imagine yourself in this desert experience, in this wilderness experience, calling out for infinite intelligence first. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. My soul thirsteth for thee. When we say my soul thirsteth and hunger for the infinite, we're making it clear that if we want the presence of God first as our primary goal, the problem is taken care of. The person out in the wilderness is not going to be able to solve the problem by hacking at the wilderness. The wilderness and the desert are not going to give this person food or water. If they curse it, if they beat it up, if they threaten it, if they are conniving, if they are cunning, no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to do anything else but be in the wilderness. So their first and foremost idea here is go to God. And I want God even more than I want the solving of this problem. I want to experience the infinite more than anything else. And as a result of experiencing the presence of the infinite, this wilderness experience will be taken care of for me. To see thy power and thy glory. We've got power and glory. You can think of power as being the masculine and glory as being the feminine. Sometimes glory can represent sphere number 8, but in this case, I see it as power as being sphere number 2 and glory as being sphere number 3, just because glory is also a word for Shekinah and power as the masculine principle. To see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. The sanctuary is the place of worship, meaning the place where I take time as a practitioner to contemplate these things and to think in terms of what's beyond my ego, what's beyond my personal need, what's beyond my personality. I sit and contemplate the infinite power and glory. I sit and contemplate that God and Goddess within, the Father, Mother, God within me, that beautiful Trinity, which is the Father and the Mother and me, Father, Mother, Child. As I contemplate such a thing, power and glory in the sanctuary, we understand that the contemplating of the infinite is the solving of the problem. That is the way we solve the problem. We move our mind away from the wilderness and into the sanctuary which exists inside of us. Because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. So spheres number 2 and 3 shoot over into sphere number 4, which is loving kindness, mercy. They come together and they provide mercy. They provide loving kindness. They provide the solution to the problem automatically for us. Thy loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise thee. Now it's starting to talk about the lips, and it talks about the lips a lot in this psalm. I think 3 or 4 times. So the lips shall praise thee. So our first things that our lips are going to do is praise the infinite. When our lips praise the infinite, then what do our lips get? The quenching of the thirst and the feeding of the hunger. What goes out of our lips then creates what comes back into the lips, because we were hungry and thirsty for the solving of this problem. So if we can praise the infinite with our lips, then our lips are satisfied. That's the tool. That's the magic. Praise. And praise does belong on sphere number 4, because sphere number 4 is the sphere of expansion. and our good is expanded. So it's important that we, when we are having this wilderness experience, this problem that seems unsolvable, that we recognize that the solving of the problem already exists, and it's through praise that the expansion of the experience of that solution manifests in our lives. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. So lifting up the hands can be a symbol of prayer, but it's also for us a symbol of invocation. We're lifting up the hands in the name of the infinite. What is the name? The nature. So we think of the qualities of the infinite and we invoke the qualities of the infinite. And that's how we, through blessing the infinite, receive the blessing that we desire. You can't have something unless you give it, but you can't give something that you don't have. So in order to have something, you must give it. In order to receive blessing, you must bless. So we're lifting up our hands and we are working with our lips. So the hands and the lips. The hands are what we use to do things in the world, and the lips are what we use to create things in this world. When we are speaking things, the word that we speak is our creative act as well. So the lips and the hands are both creative vehicles, but the lips also receive the nourishment that we require. The hands, instead of doing things on our own, we're lifting those hands up in a gesture of invocation so that they can be used in service of the infinite. When our hands and our lips are being used in the service of the infinite can use them in order to solve the problem for us. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. Again with the lips, again with the praise. Now we're bringing in joy. Now, apologies to all of you vegans. The marrow and the fat in these older cultures were reserved as sacrifices. It wasn't something that you ate yourself. It was something you reserved as a sacrifice to give the infinite. Now the infinite is giving you that back. That which you reserved for the infinite is being given back to you in abundance. So your soul is being satisfied as with marrow and fatness. That means that all of that praise that you're giving to the infinite is coming back on you, and the infinite is praising you. The infinite praises you by solving your problem. And my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. You can get this party started through having joyful praise in your mouth. Don't use your mouth to bitch and moan about the problem. Don't use your mouth to talk to all your friends about it. Isn't it awful? Don't use your mouth for anything other than praise and joy. And that's the key here, that the infinite can only do for you what it can do through you. So if you're not using your lips and your hands to praise and to invoke, and you're doing things all by yourself, then there is no vehicle through which the infinite can solve the problem for you. Because you have free will, you can do anything you want with your hands. You can do anything you want with your lips. So the infinite sits there waiting for you, and it has all the solution ready for you, but it's up to you how you utilize your free will. And if your free will is being used to orient yourself back to the infinite and use your freedom, your ability to create, and your ability to speak, and your ability to do, your ability to think and choose, and you're putting that back on, I'm using all of those powers to praise the infinite through joy, well, then you have an unfettered channel through which the infinite can then solve your problem. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches. This is always important, and the Psalms talk about this a lot. It's not only what you do while you're awake, it's what you do while you're asleep. You can go to sleep with the thought of praise and wake up with the thought of praise. Very frequently what happens, especially if we have problems, is we go to bed thinking about the problem and we wake up thinking about the problem. Now, if you can train your mind to go to bed thinking about the qualities of God, the praise and joy as you're going to sleep, and as soon as you wake up, even if you notice that you're worried about the problem, that you switch that immediately to praise and joy, You've given the infinite the conduit through which to solve your problem through your deep mind. So when you remember the infinite on your bed and meditate on the infinite in the night watches, that means you're going to take the idea of the infinite into sleep with you, and you're going to retrieve the idea of the infinite as soon as you think of it upon waking in the morning. Because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. The shadow of the wings of the infinite is the protection of the infinite. You're in the desert. That's the image here. You are in the hot, freaking desert, and there is sun, and it's not nice sun, it's icky sun. It's sun that kills you because there's nothing to drink and there's no shade, and that's your problem. And then what happens? The infinite comes in with these big wings and gives you shade, makes things cool, bring you the water, bring you the food, bring you the shelter, bring you the solution to the problems. Because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. You want to rejoice over the solution of this problem. The solution is already there. Not talking about how bad it is, how hot it is, how deserty it is, how wildernessy it is. You're going to talk about how grateful you are for this solution. My soul followeth hard after thee, thy right hand upholdeth me. So your soul follows hard after the infinite, meaning I am not going to let up on my commitment to thinking about the infinite, to praising the infinite, to follow the infinite. That's the conduit through which the infinite helps me. And the right hand of the infinite upholds me. So the right hand in these old texts usually was the utility hand, because majority of people are right-handed, and so they just assumed everybody was right-handed back then. So if you're left-handed, it would mean your left hand. It's the hand that wields the sword. It's the hand that holds the eating utensil. It's the hand that holds the cup. And it's the hand that does things. And so the infinite's right hand is just a symbol of the utility of the infinite upholding you. It's going to take you and hold you up, take care of you, and make sure that all of this is solved and you're fine. That you have nothing to worry about. Why? Because you're giving the infinite right of way. So you're giving it your hands, you're giving it your mouth, you're giving it your attention, you're giving it your deep mind while you're sleeping. You're giving it everything. You're giving it full right of way. And the infinite's desire is to help you. One of the qualities of the infinite is responsiveness, but it can only respond to you based on your willingness. So you're showing it willingness. You're showing yourself willingness, which is even more important. For these last 3 verses, we're talking about the problem as an enemy. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. My problem can go straight to hell, is what you're saying, basically. My problem is dying. The underworld in this culture meant where the dead bodies were buried. And so that's where your problem is going. Your problem's getting buried. Your problem's dying. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion for foxes. The right hand of the infinite is the hand that holds the sword, kills off the problem so that the problem is then food for the foxes. Now that's a violent image, I guess, but that was part of the culture here. And so just revel in it. Revel in the fact that your problem is dead and is food for the foxes. But the king shall rejoice in God. Now the king represents your soul. Your soul doesn't have this problem. Your soul has been sort of held hostage by your ego mind, saying, oh, you can't do anything because this person's free will is all caught up in their problem. And so the soul has had its hands tied. Your soul hasn't been able to act because of your own personality absconding with the free will and giving it all to the ego. And the ego mind is all about problems. Throughout this entire psalm, you've learned how to reorient your free will from doing the ego's bidding to praising the infinite. So as a result of that, your soul, or the king, shall rejoice in God. Everyone that sweareth by him shall glory. Every thought in your mind that swears by your soul is going to glory, because your soul naturally is oriented toward God, oriented toward the solution. So you've freed your soul from the clutches of the ego because your free will has been oriented toward the solution rather than the problem. But the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. And that is the ego mind. The ego is the one that said this problem is unsolvable. You're screwed. There's nothing you can do about this. Your ego is only about lies. What other lies does the ego tell you? You're all alone. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. There is no God. There is no higher power. There's nothing but problems. Whatever other lies the ego comes up with that makes you feel afraid and destitute and in the wilderness are all going to be stopped. But the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. The ego will be stopped because the ego is temporary. It wasn't created by the infinite. It was created by us. It was created by us, and we don't have to go into all of that because there's plenty of lectures on that. But the ego is just a construct. It's just an illusion. It's simply a habit of thinking separately. And now we are reorienting our minds so that we are thinking in terms of the solution rather than the problem. And the solution is the infinite. 4 plus 4 already equals 8, even if you don't know it, even if you haven't figured that out yet. The solution's already in the equation. So the solution for this problem already exists. It existed the second the problem was created. So your job is not to try to figure out the solution. It's to orient toward the solution and let the solution reveal itself to you. And that's exactly what you're doing by working in this psalm. So you're going to just keep coming back to this psalm each and every day until you get a very clear sense that this problem is solved. Whether or not you see evidence in the physical world to support that, you will get a click. You will get an understanding, a knowingness, a certainty, and definitely a sense of peace that all is well. And once you get that sense, you can stop casting this spell and move on to something else. Thank you very much for joining me today. Until next time, blessed be.